London has just hosted a successful Paralympic-style athletics championship for war-wounded service personnel, named the Invictus Games. The Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, which hosted the Games, was full of crowds of supporters. More than 400 competitors took part in the Games, including both serving military personnel and veterans. All had suffered life-changing injuries during their military service. They competed in 9 different disciplines, including athletics, swimming, wheelchair rugby and wheelchair basketball. Teams travelled from 13 countries all over the world to take part, from USA to Afghanistan, from New Zealand to across Europe. The Games were championed by Prince Harry, and among those attending were his father, the Prince of Wales, and Prime Minister David Cameron. Some participants said the Games had given them an additional focus in their lives.
It's a wonderful feeling. It has been a real pleasure to take part of this group and represent Italy here in London. I got to the point that I feel good only when I do sports. When I'm locked up in a hospital to do physiotherapy, I feel bad.
In the stands were also family and friends of the competitors. Many of these had also been affected by having a loved one suffer serious physical injuries.
In February 2013, we were providing TESRO, which is cover for the aircraft that are arriving and departing at Bastion. And as we were en route to a village to carry out a meeting with one of the village elders, we unfortunately drove over an IED. At the time it initiated, literally right underneath my seat. I was ejected and my left leg was severed off straight away. I was then medevaced back to the UK, where I woke up 5 weeks later after being in a induced coma and realised obviously my leg had gone. The right one had been rebuilt. However, a few days later, the doctors and the consultants at the hospital, they said, they gave me the option basically that I could continue with waiting for it to rebuild, which could be a long-term issue, or I could have an elective amputation. So straight away I decided, let's get it off, let's start the rehab from scratch instead of going backwards and forwards really.
Sport plays an essential role in the rehabilitation process, and not just for those who've been physically injured.
PTSD, this is the first time it's been categorised for a sporting event, and which is fantastic. PTSD is all about a mental injury that you suffer from serving overseas on operations. It affected me. I went there in 2004, and in 2012 I actually tried to commit suicide. When I came out of hospital in 2012, my psychologists and my doctors all said the first thing to do was get your physical well-being. And so I went on a journey, and I probably got the fittest I'd been in 10 years. I lost my weight because when I was in hospital I actually had damaged all my internal organs through an overdose. And so the physical exercise actually got me well again. And when I was physically well, I was then able to work on my mental wellness.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, and other mental and psychological afflictions are a major challenge for some of those returning home.
There have been numbers around the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and even the UK, and it works out around about a quarter of the people who serve may end up with some form of PTSD. The thing is that PTSD doesn't happen straight away. It's a slow burning fuse, and for me it was 8 years before I fell over, and it's something that creeps up on individuals, and if they don't know about it and we don't educate our soldiers beforehand to recognise those triggers, then we will lose them.
Some competitors hope that the high-profile success of the Invictus Games will give them a stepping stone to the next Paralympic Games in Rio in 2016.
I'm sure I will carry on with sports, even if it will not be easy, but I will try. Anyway, I'm a guy that gives everything, both for me and my country.